We can start by start out by letting everybody know that how grateful we are for the work that Emma Dragon is doing for the town. And that's the reason that she's not here, because she's working so hard on vaccine distribution. And we're very grateful for all of her dedicated work on that, and hope to continue it with her. The next thing that's on the agenda that we can talk about, given that Emma's not here to answer some of our questions about the vaccine as well as contact tracing, were long-term planning.
Yep.
And this is something that I've been asking since October, I think, was when I first asked it, as far as substitutes. So can you give us a sense of how many substitutes the district has per building currently?
I don't have that information personally. Do you mean like substitutes that are actually working in buildings?
Yeah, that would be assigned to a building. Back in October, I asked the question. Initially, we were told that the district had 3 per building. And then I think maybe December, one of the times I asked again, we were told there were 2 substitutes per building, and just wanted to get an update on that, as well as any contingency plans for when we are out of substitutes. So what would the district do if there are not enough substitutes for coverage? You and I, all of us know from working in schools for as long as we have, that we typically in a day would need more than 2 substitutes when we're not in a pandemic.
Yeah.
So just wondering what the district's contingency plans would be if we are out of coverage for classes.
Yeah, I definitely don't have an official answer on that.
Okay. Something else that I've been asking for since October was also about location for staff to eat lunches so that they can continue to practice social distancing. And do you know if there is a plan moving forward for that, as we're looking to put more adults and as well as students in the buildings?
Nothing that I've been apprised of yet. I know our department, in the facilities department, we actually just kind of put out a memo regarding that. But aside from that, no.
Can you give us a little more, like what you're doing with your staff as far as lunches, so that we can ensure social distancing?
Yes. So I just want to preface it with it kind of works out differently for us because we probably have a lot more spaces available to us, but it's essentially that no 2 people will be eating in the same place at the same time. So there we go. There's Steven. So for instance, we have a painter who has his own shop. That's where he eats, that sort of thing. Break rooms, like communal break rooms, we're veering away from that at this point.
Hi, Stephen. We're talking about some long-term planning, something that I've been asking for information on since probably October, were contingency plans for substitutes for to ensure that we have enough coverage for staff in the cases of quarantining and just in the case of being out for illnesses. So want to make sure that when we get people back into the buildings and get students back into the buildings, we have the coverage that's needed to keep the buildings open. So I don't know if you have anything that you could share about contingency plans for substitutes.
Yeah, substitutes, we really haven't gone there, but that's an incredibly difficult thing to figure out. I mean, that, where do you get them and how do they stay, I mean, do you quarantine subs? I mean, what do you do to keep them from, I don't know where you'd find them, but so it is a difficult topic.
Thanks, Stephen. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to start discussing it back in October, so that we would have some type of plan in place for that. So this is a topic that we're going to need more discussion on, because I think can we all agree that it is something that we would need some contingency plans for?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. As well as staff lunch spaces, so that we can continue to have staff feel comfortable, but also still be able to socially distance from each other.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to ask, and Ben, you might know the answer to this, is I know that the transportation for students, the drop-off points might be changed for some buildings due to more families perhaps driving their students to school. Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, like the drop-off side of that, right? The at school. Yeah, each school actually has come up with their own plans. Like I know Fort River actually had to go to Fort River and Wildwood, same layout. Both had to kind of go to the extent of actually marking where folks go out. But yeah, we've got pickup and drop-off plans for each of the schools. We had to do that before the first day that we opened initially.
Do you know if those plans are going to remain the same as we move towards getting more staff and more students into buildings? Are those plans going to remain the same? Are they going to change? And where can people find those plans?
Right. So far they almost have to stay exactly the same. We were basically set up for the best possible option as far as social distancing and being able to get our buses in and out safely. It affects how our vans drop off as well. But yeah, I believe each school has them. I'm not sure if they sent them out to parents, but I can get a firmed up answer on that.
That would be really good. That would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Information. As somebody that works at Crocker Farm, I know that initially, because that school is a little bit different because it's got the two driveways. It's got one in the front off of West Street, and then it's got the Shea Street entrance in the back, which is more like a horseshoe.
Yeah.
In the past, staff have used the back entrance to park. A large number of staff have used that area to park. And we had the front entrance, and then there was parking up the driveway as well as to the side for preschool families for them to drop off. One of my concern is that there will not be enough parking in the back, because that's where the buses were going to go. Do you know if that's going to continue, that the buses will continue to use the Shea Street?
Yeah, that hasn't changed. It's been long enough now that I don't have it exactly in my head, like the general picture. But yeah, it's going to be about the same. And the parking coming up the hill and the parking by pre-K and all that is going to be utilized more than it has been in the past.
Okay. My understanding is that staff would not be parking, because knowing the buses need the space to turn.
Right. And radius, yeah.
Correct. So do you know, and you don't have to give me the exact number, but an estimate of how many parking spaces are available in the front? So going up to the West Street.
I actually should have it exact, but I won't venture a guess. I definitely should have an answer based on.
Yeah, I just wanted that I'm a planner, and Krista and I are both numbers people. So just trying to get ahead of this and wondering, do we have enough parking spaces in the West Street side to accommodate all of the cars for staff, if we're going to have a full staff there? So I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I was going to say that part I actually can speak to.
Okay, good.
That came up during the planning phase, and the answer was yes, more than enough. Right. It's going to be different than it has been in the past, but yeah,
there are enough spaces for if all staff are in the building.
Correct.
To park on the West Street.
Yeah.
Parking. Okay, good. I think that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
All right. Someone's calling me from Canada. I don't know who. I think it's one of those calls you don't want to pick up. So I guess, Krista, do you have any other questions for long-term planning? More on the secondary school level?
I'm thinking about the location for lunches for staff, and the plan that you have in place sounds really good for your staff. It sounds like best case scenario. And as we're thinking ahead to long-term planning, finding ways to replicate what you're doing would be really good. So I guess this is an appreciation. I appreciate how much thought you put into how you planned having facilities, people having the safest possible lunches they can have. We've just seen so many outbreaks that happen around the break room, and I appreciate that you've thought so far in advance on that one. I just hope there's a way that we can find to replicate something similar when we start increasing numbers in the buildings, for locations for students having lunches and locations for staff, so that we're reducing that risk. We know that's one of the riskiest times in our day, will be the time when the masks come off to eat. So I guess as we think ahead, finding ways to replicate that plan would be amazing.
Yeah. Any input I could provide, I'm more than willing to help with.
Excellent. I guess a related question is the tents are all down for the winter season. I'm assuming that's why they're down. When is the planned date to have the tents all put back up? Is that after I don't even know how you plan that. Is it after the snow season? When do those go back up?
It's going to take a bit of guesswork and a bit of luck, basically. Provided that the winter plays out like it has been so far, which, I mean, this is New England, so it'd be ridiculous to plan it based on that. But provided that it did work out that way, we're probably another month or two away. We could probably realistically do it in about March.
Is it the snow load on the tents that's the worry, or frozen ground, which is all of it?
Yeah, well, yeah, mostly the snow load side. So from the manufacturer, we got a bunch of wonderful specs, and they've assured us that it'll work out that way. But we decided that the risk isn't worth, worth trusting with what a manufacturer says when they're selling you something, basically.
Okay, because I know in the early plans, having access to those tents was really important for thinking about students and eating lunch. And the priority was to have as much outside eating time as possible in the tents. So knowing when those tents come back up is helpful for knowing when we can have those best possible scenarios for eating again.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thanks.
I've got a funny question about tents. Union 28, we had all 4 schools had purchased tents this past fall, and it turns out none of them were flame retardant. So I'm just curious if the fire department has checked out your tents to make sure that they're flame retardant, because we had to send them all back, and now we have none.
Yeah, I don't know if you followed the drama that was the tents of Amherst. That's what I'm calling it. But so I went through a planning board hearing, the permitting process, and an inspection process. And that was so knowing that I was going to have to do that, that was the first thing that we had to do, was to make sure that we had the documentation. But yeah, one of these days when you have time, I'll explain the entire process to you. It was thorough. I'll say thorough. I don't want to opine on that, but yeah, it was thorough. Yeah.
All right, Stephen, do you have anything that you would like to bring up for long-term planning? Okay, do you want to switch over to facilities?
Yeah, the substitutes is a real, that we really got to start with that now, because that is a key thing.
Yep.
There's the number of substitutes that you have per billing, and also the issue with contact tracing when you've got a substitute that might move from room to room throughout the day, which happens often, or a substitute that may need to switch and move from building to building due to staffing levels or shortages. So there's a few different pieces to that puzzle that really should be looked at. And again, that's why we've been asking these questions since October.
Yeah.
In addition to that, too, Jean is getting substitutes trained in what the protocols are for when masks can be on and off, and whatever the protocols are may be slightly different based on age of the students or capacity of the classroom, and so knowing what kind of training, additional training substitutes will need to be able to implement safety protocol is really going to take time. We're going to need time to know what those are and time to train whatever subs we have to know what to do to keep our students safe.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. For facilities update, Ben, thank you for sending the document.
Yeah, there was one major part that I didn't put in there that I would be remiss in my duties, both on the school committee and in my day job to mention. And it's a hard fact that the process of furloughing our staff has begun. So I just want to point that out that, as hard as we've been working, it's going to get a lot worse coming soon. And I had some folks that wanted me to mention that here, because that does affect how we can be ready for schools to open.
Ben, thank you. The custodian and maintenance staff and facility staff are like the heart of the buildings.
Yeah.
They really are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they've been here throughout. So if anyone noticed last night, I explained that my week sucked. That's why my week sucked. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. For the update that you did send out, would you be able to send us the actual Nexus report? So not the processed information data, but the actual report that came from Nexus. If you could forward that to us, that would be great.
Yeah, and so there was we got a request in our department earlier in the week, and then we got more data after. So you guys will be getting the newer version of the raw data. But yes, we can provide that. Yeah.
That's looking at the facilities update. It sounds like you had Nexus back in to do some retests. Is that correct?
Yep.
Fantastic. Yes, getting the whatever data you have from Nexus. You already know Jean and I are all over the raw data. So we just can't wait to see that. So thank you so much.
I only have one other person throughout the course of the day who actually gets excited when this stuff comes in, so it's refreshing.
Oh, this is going to be like a holiday season for me again. This is fantastic. Thank you.
One thing that I wanted to ask you, I think we talked about it in December, were the fact that there were some rooms that were not scheduled to be tested for air quality because they weren't slated to be used. Correct?
Correct.
Would it be possible to get a list of those rooms by building?
Yeah, well, yeah. Sure.
Not the map, but just a list of the room numbers by building.
Yep. Yeah. It's relatively easy because of the airflow list. I mean, airflow maps, we can put it together a little bit better.
And that's, I would think that a list like that would also be helpful when you're thinking about planning out staff lunch locations as well.
Yeah, right. Because a lot of the areas we weren't going to test, if you only had one person in it, it would. I mean that you can't infect yourself, right? So if people were assigned to those rooms for lunch, that's probably one of the best ways to go about it, I think.
All right, so that would be great.
Yeah.
Well, look at that, 444.
I think our two other main things we wanted to talk about today, again, were related to Emma's work. And since she's not with us because she's doing such fantastic work to roll out the vaccine for our first responders. I think we'll have to wait till we can snag her again to ask about vaccines and contact tracing. But
It's probably a good thing that she's busy. Not even probably. It's absolutely a good thing that she's busy right now.
we're just so fortunate for her role in rolling out the vaccine for our county, or being one of the main players in rolling it out. We're just so fortunate to have that. So she's fantastic.
Superstar and a dragon.
That's right.
And I remain optimistic. I know the superintendent shared that he was kind of pleasantly surprised at the vaccine distribution, and I think that we're going to see a ramp up over the next few weeks.
Something's going to change on the 20th, I think, to probably make it a little more efficient.
Perhaps, yeah.
I'm not sure what it is, but
Yeah. No, I will remain an optimist about this.
absolutely.
So, and I appreciate all the work that both of you are doing, not only on the school committee, but also putting in the additional time to work on safety issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Now, do you still stay on for questions?
I think we do for like another 5 minutes.
Okay, so this is the part of the show that Krista and I say goodbye. All right.
Thank you so much.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right, do I have it? Someone's reached out. CEO web seeds. Oh, okay.
Any questions?
I'm not seeing anything. The only thing popping up, I guess for folks watching on YouTube, if you put a question in the comment section, we'll be able to see it here. But yeah, the only thing I see is someone saying, okay. So what do you think? We give it another 2-3 minutes?
all I can see is the note that Sasha put up there.
Yeah. Which says, yeah, we probably should read that. Okay, so the nurse department has reached out to the central office to create a website that will assist staff with some concerns around mask protocols. Yeah. Good. All right, I guess we give it to 4:48 and then have another hat to put on after this there, Steve. So.
Lucky you. How was the meeting last night?
It was good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, folks got to kind of air out some grievances and concerns, and then after that, I got to wear another hat and go coach some basketball. So that was fun.
Oh, nice. So are they playing with mask on, or?
Yeah, we're just doing skills clinics. We're not even allowed to scrimmage or play one-on-one or anything. So a lot of shooting, a lot of dribbling.
Hope there's more dribbling than shooting. What about the passing thing? Somebody's got to learn how to pass the ball.
Right. If you can catch the ball off the wall, you can catch the ball anywhere. That's right.
Somebody's got to be willing to give the ball up, though.
Yeah. It's an important part of the game.
That's where short guys like me came in handy.
Yeah. I'm down here too, yeah. All right. So I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to wrap it up and then
all right.
And we reconvene next Tuesday, right?
Thank you, Ben.
All right, thank you. Have a great extended weekend.
You too. Just don't put the wrong hat on now. Just make sure you get the right one.
I'll try.
Have a good one.
You too. We'll see you.
Thank you.